Hello, hello, my loves, and thank you for joining me. On today's episode of Flow, I have the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Ruby Lathon, certified holistic nutritionist and owner of Ruby Red's Vegan, a delicious vegan meal prep service. Now, I won't steal her thunder, but Dr. Lathon was interviewed on the popular documentary What the Health and had a great success healing herself with thyroid cancer. And it seems like she has not looked back since. Dr. Lathon, why? First of all, thank you so much for joining me. And
Sure.
welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, yes, I know that you're very busy, so I appreciate it. Why don't you share, just kick it off by sharing a little bit of your health journey with us? Like how did you get into this lifestyle?
Right. Well, it started so when I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer back in 2007, which is a long time ago now. And I decided I wanted to do natural treatment for it as I didn't want to have to be on medication forever, which is the requirement if you have your thyroid removed. And that was like the only option I was given. So I followed my instincts and my gut that said there's another way, and I researched it and started switched to a plant-based diet. That's how I, went toward veganism when I based on the research about how much plants heal the body and how much the other things animal protein can trigger cancer. So I kind of got rid of that, went to a clean diet, whole food diet, studied tons of supplements, and then came up with my own nutrition plan and healed myself over a year long process, a little over a year. And that's how I got into this. So I learned so much through that experience. That I just decided I wanted to do something different than work in defense and work to save lives instead of destroy them.
Wow, that is so powerful and such a beautiful story. I
Mhm.
love the piece that you shared about your intuition, that something told you that there had to be a different way, and just kind of listening to that,
Yeah.
and that tapping within.
Hmm.
Because the information is not always like forefront, readily available. Sometimes you do have
Right.
to dig for it and do a little research. So, congratulations
Absolutely.
to
Thank
you.
you. Yeah, and
Yes.
I think that's an important piece because, not everybody's educated on all these different things, but everybody has a gut instinct and intuition. And it doesn't matter who you are, how much education you have or don't have, you can trust your gut. And it's our God given intuitive direction system. And don't let anyone deter you from that because that's what has worked for me time and time again is the gut instinct. And when things haven't worked, the gut was telling me the opposite. But we like sometimes we ignore it because of societal pressure or fear or other things, but it's always right.
Yeah, yeah, that intuition, your gut instinct, I like to say, is God speaking to you. And sometimes
Hmm.
you just have to slow down and listen to it. And you're right. I
Exactly.
think sometimes we try to ignore it, right, when we want to go a different direction, but
Mhm.
it never steers us wrong.
Mhm.
So tell me what your diet is like now. Like, what do you eat in a typical day once you've gotten past healing yourself, and now it's more so
Mhm.
the continuation, right? Being consistent with that.
Right.
What do you
Yeah.
eat?
So it's more maintenance now. So what I usually start with the green smoothie every day. So it usually has, and I mix it up with different vegetables and fruit. So like today we have collard, well, kale, because I made a big kale salad. So I saved the stems from collard greens or kale, and I always use those. There's a lot of nutrition in there, and we shouldn't just throw that out. So, so there's something like that. So kale, collards, or cucumber is like the base. And then it's fruit, berries, of course, because they're high in the antioxidants, and of course the greens have all the antioxidants and the fiber as well. And then I usually put a plant-based protein powder, clean ingredients. Um, and I usually put in some type of green powder. Right now, I'm just doing moringa, which is an excellent cancer fighter, antioxidant. So it's a continuation. If I'm not using that, I might use some others that are. Trying to think of the names of them. It'll come to me, but a green powder that's got like spirulina, chlorella,
Yeah.
those kind of things in it. And then I usually now have been putting what is that? Seaweed, sea moss in there. I use my own sea moss gel, and then fruit, ginger, water, and blend it. So that's my smoothie. So I usually start because I feel like that gives me a foundation for everything. I usually eat better if I start with the smoothie because your body just gets the nutrients that it needs, so it's not craving every and anything. So usually there's that. And then it depends. So I eat a lot of food from my own delivery service. So mango, kale salads on tap, and then I have like pecan walnut wraps also to go with that. So whereas the meat of it is pecans and walnuts and some other things. So generally eat like that. I eat lots of I just try to center things around greens, so Brussels sprouts, rice, those kind of things. So occasionally I'll have a plant-based burger or something like that, or I'll cheat with some chips, but it's not an everyday thing. But snacks are usually like seaweed or kale chips or hummus with veggies or like a gluten-free cracker or something like that. So yeah, and then desserts. Sometimes I'll make my own like little brownies. Um, Raw brownies from walnuts and dates and cacao powder. I love to do nice cream, especially in the summer with bananas. And I love peanut butter, so peanut butter on any whole grain bread or, something is always a quick and easy snack. So I keep it as natural as possible, unprocessed as possible. But I do have those days when I'm out or I want to go to a vegan restaurant and they've got stuff. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have a little bit of that, buffalo cauliflower, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's just my basic thing is get the foundation of the smoothie where I'm getting all my vitamins and everything from, and then figure out next step what are we centering the greens around, and then from there and just kind of go with it like that. So
Yeah, yeah. It seems like you keep it pretty simple. I love that you said as clean as possible, as natural as possible. Like you don't complicate
yeah.
it.
Yeah, because it's a lot to cook every day and all of that. So that's why I started the delivery service. But when I'm just cooking for myself, I do keep it simple. I'll do like sweet potatoes, black beans, and kale. Like that's one of my favorite little skillets because it's filling. It's got your protein, your greens, your fiber, everything you need. I'll do corn, cucumber, black bean salad. I do because it does not have to be a big production. Yes, I do lasagna and I do enchiladas, but I don't do those every day because sometimes I just don't feel like
Yeah.
making it. So if I want a quick go-to, I'm gonna do like a taco salad with like either black beans or refried beans, lettuce, tomato, and maybe some blue corn chips or something with onions. To me, that's really easy to throw together. So just keep it simple and know that know your basics of you're getting your nuts and beans for the protein, seeds, and then you're getting your greens, and then everything else it's optional after that.
Yeah, yeah, just keeping it simple. I think there's this misconception that eating healthy has to be difficult. And I love, like you said, like a production. And I'm like, if you can cook soul food, you can definitely cook plant-based. Just
Absolutely, because
yeah,
you already have half the battle, which is know how to season. You know,
exactly. Oh my
that's
gosh, if
that's
you can
like
see,
that's
you
the
can do
half. Yeah, if you could season chicken, you could season tofu. You know,
exactly. Exactly. It's just the mindset, right? It's just
yeah.
shifting the mindset. And I
Hmm.
also love that you touched on the nutrition aspect of it. I heard you talk a lot about getting your greens in, getting your fiber in, getting your antioxidants in,
Hmm.
but still keeping it really simple with the basics. That's so important. Your fiber, right? You want to make sure that you're touching those every day, especially your fiber and
Hmm.
your protein.
Yeah.
But it's still delicious. It's still very clean. It's still very simple and
Hmm.
not very expensive. So
Right.
I'm here
Right.
for sweet potato, black bean, skillet. I'm here for that. I love
Yeah.
a stuffed sweet potato with black
Oh
beans.
yeah, yeah. You could do so much with the sweet potato and black beans. There's like 1,000 different varieties of that I love to do. So that's always easy. And if you want to keep frozen sweet potatoes in the freezer, so you don't even have to wait for them to bake, you can just throw those on the pan or in the skillet, and it's boom. It's easy. and it's organic. It may cost a little more, but it's where's your comfort level? Do you want to spend more time chopping it up and waiting, or do you want to spend more time with it in the freezer? So you can go either way with this, but also baking a sweet potato doesn't take that long. You just stick it in the oven and walk away and do something else. And then I like to add sauerkraut to a lot of things because you need your probiotics. And so
Mm-hmm.
that healthy sauerkraut, it's in the refrigerated section of the store. So it's not like, super salty, but
Yeah.
that's going to give you a lot of good probiotics, and it goes on salads, sandwiches, with everything. So I just like to throw that on most things when I remember to get that sauerkraut in. It adds flavor, but it adds the probiotics as well as fiber, as well as cabbage is cancer fighting. So I like to get a cabbage and make sure I eat it by the end of the week, because cabbage makes a ton of food, especially like when I
Yes.
do a purple cabbage. I'll put some in the smoothie. I'll do some coleslaw. I'll shred some up on a salad. It's just you want to get it in. So that's how I focus on in the summer. I'm like, okay, what melons am I eating this week? Making that the center point. I'm going to get a watermelon, honeydew, whatever, making sure I'm getting a variety of different fruit into.
I love that. Keeping it simple by just telling yourself, I need to get this in by the end of the week, like not stressing yourself, but this
Right.
is what I'm eating by the end of this week and just tossing it in and experimenting with different things.
Hmm.
I'm still in that for the purple cabbage, just so you know.
Yeah, and you know what? Usually, and then you can do a purple cabbage with onions, and you put it in a pan and just saute that with mustard and a little hot sauce. It's incredible. It's like a
Mm,
mustard cabbage.
that
You
sounds
can go
so
with
good.
anything. It really it is delicious. Honestly, I use that one a lot, especially if I need to go ahead and use it up. Yeah.
Yeah, like before it goes bad, so go ahead
Mhm.
and get it out of your refrigerator.
Yep.
So tell me, how did you transition your eating habits? Did you just go like completely plant-based? Did you start by cutting things out? Like, what was your process?
Yeah. So mostly I just switched to plant based because it was like, okay, I need to do this.
Yeah.
I think with the cheese initially, that one took a little longer where I was like, okay, I'm not going to buy cheese anymore. I'm just going to maybe only have it when I eat out. And then I decided just to cut it out for like a month or two. And then I lost the craving for it. And that because I tried it again after like a month or two, and it was like I didn't even like it anymore. So your taste buds do change when you cut something out for like 30 days, give it a break. And then I just started talking to myself like, why am I eating this anyway? Why are we not eating cheese? Because it's an addiction
Mhm.
there, right? So and most people don't realize that's why we're so
Yeah.
like enmeshed and in love with cheese, because
Yeah.
of the casein
Yeah.
that causes that emotional addiction and physical addiction to it. So I would go down the list of, okay, I'm not eating cheese because it's animal protein, it's from a cow, there's pus, there's hormones, there's this and that. And so then I would just basically talk myself out of it until it's like second nature. So I just, in terms of most things, I just stopped after I went to like a lifestyle treatment center the first like 3 weeks after my diagnosis. But the cheese, I think I kind of merged that out, and then it was done after I started like reprogramming. Is basically what you're doing, reprogramming what you see as food. So it's no longer a struggle. I'm not around people with cheese or with meat, and I'm not drooling over like, oh, you can't have this. I can have whatever I want. I don't want that.
Yeah.
It's like it's a choice now that is so easy because I have programmed myself that animal products are not food. It's animals. It's like cheese is not food. It's for a baby cow. So when I see that, I'm not tempted by it. So it's not a struggle. It's this is what I see as food and nourishment, and that's it. And so it was the other piece was just learning how to cook again without processed foods and all that kind of stuff. So that was a little bit of a learning curve. But once you get the basics of here's what we're trying to include, I already knew how to cook. So I was like just kind of thinking of replacements
Yeah.
and going from there. And then looking up recipes and seeing what other people do opens up a whole new world. How to make your own cheese from cashews. That was like mind blown. That I could do chocolate pudding with tofu. That
Yeah.
was another like, oh my goodness, core moment of like, ah. You can do so much with this, So it's just shifting. It's a complete shift of how you look at food and how you mix and match foods.
Yes, I love that. I love that you said reprogram. I think you hit the nail on the head. Thank you. Thank you
Hmm.
for saying that you're reprogramming your mind and your habits to desire something different. Um,
Right.
and even just touching on how addictive cheese is, I think that's kind of quiet, right? In America, we don't talk about that
Hmm.
because cheese is everywhere. It's on everything. You get extra
It is.
cheese here. This is super cheesy. It's in all the advertisements. So you're programmed from advertisements and marketing to desire and want cheese. And then once you actually eat it, knowing that it does have addictive properties to it, I think most people that go plant based say that that's the one thing that they had to
It
transition.
is, because it shows up everywhere, and that part of that is by design. I mean, like the government subsidizes cheese, so they push it on the companies to use it. They come up with the campaigns to add extra cheese to things. Chefs are taught in school how to use just milk and cream and cheese to add fat and flavor to everything. So they don't really even know how to do that unless they've educated themselves.
Yeah,
So usually it's easy to go vegetarian, right? Because they just swap out the meat for the cheese. It's still animal, it's still fat, it's still oily. But when it's vegan, it's like, oh gosh. And that's why you end up at some places where you're just getting steamed broccoli
yeah,
and zucchini and a mushroom, and that's it. Because they have things. I'm like, if you send me another zucchini squash medley as the vegan
as
option,
good as can be.
I'm like, ah! I don't. They used to just make me so mad because they would put like no seasoning on it and just plop it on top of pasta, and I'm like, you didn't even put an ounce of thought into this. I mean, this is not. For a long time, I could not eat zucchini or squash because I was like traumatized with the early years of veganism, where that's the only thing they could think of somehow,
Yeah,
that zucchini was the only like vegan vegetable or something.
yeah,
So that's what you would get with a mushroom if you're lucky. So they've been taught and programmed that fat is how you flavor food, salty fat, bacon. That's how you
mhm,
flavor food. So this is why it shows up in the restaurants and in the advertisements and all of that. And we know that leads to heart disease and a whole bunch of other issues and problems down the road, which is brought out in the movie, as you mentioned, What the Health. So, but anyway, it comes at us from multiple directions and then the actual physical connection. And the reason there's a physical connection with cheese is because it's milk and it's meant to bond the baby cow and the mother together so the baby will continue to want the milk so that it lives and survives. So for humans, it just makes us continue to want the milk and we just get more inflammation and bigger.
yeah. Yes, you listen, you are preaching, you are sharing, and I'm so thankful that we kind of went down this pathway because we don't learn about it. You don't learn about these things, and you don't know about it if someone does not educate you.
Right.
Specifically around milk, casein, and cheese, you're so
Mhm.
right. And for women, it also has arachidonic acid, which creates uterus contraction. So when you think about women that have hard or irregular cycles, not only are you craving the cheese, but you're craving the very thing, like you said, that's creating the inflammation, but that's creating the feminine health issues. So
Right.
it's this harsh cycle
It-
that you really have to really reprogram yourself to take yourself out of it.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. Hmm.
I had to stop watching primetime TV. That was big for me because of the commercials, and the commercials are meant to program you to crave certain things subconsciously. So you're out craving things and don't even realize why.
Yeah.
So I had to take primetime TV out of my mental diet to maintain my physical diet.
I think that's great because that is true. Because especially like I noticed, like if I'm doing a fast or something, I can't watch TV because it's like constant boom, 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 food,
Yeah.
food, food. It's like, so I agree with just cutting out the TV because it is a programming element and subconscious things do work. That's why they do them. And then so now you're in the store buying something you didn't even realize you wanted because you subconsciously took it in on online or on TV. So that's true. That's
Or you're
absolutely
craving something that you don't even know why. Like, oh, I really want some, and
right. Now you're pulling up at Arby's. It's like I don't do that, but I understand for other people, it's like because it's like, I don't even like this place. Why am I here? But
Oh,
if you keep seeing it 1,000 times, online and
yeah.
on TV, then boom, that's where you'll end up.
Yeah, so true. Now, I know that you don't only service and support women, but why do you think that this information is so important for women? I really focus on women of color. So, could you speak to why this information is important for us as women of color?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, and that's a great question. So, I think Black women in America are in a unique position, because obviously there's sexism and there's racism, and there's no other group that's experiencing both of those simultaneously other
Mm,
than us. And so when you look at how that relates to the health statistics, there are always all these statistics of, oh, there's obesity, there's more obesity of Black women, there's this, and so they go down this whole litany of negative health uh, issues that we're dealing with, and I'm like, why is that? Let's peel back the layers, because the health statistics are the same based on whether you're poor or in a high economic status. There's
yes.
still it's like it still mirrors the same. So I'm like, what else is going on that Black women are experiencing this? And I think it's that stress coming from trying to be superwoman at work, trying to be superwoman at home, and we haven't broken the gender stereotypes. We haven't, broken all the way through that glass ceiling yet. So we're dealing with a unique set of stressors that cause health issues. So we need to be more aware of it, that we have to take these additional steps to take care of ourselves emotionally, mentally, and with the food that we eat. That when we eat the garbage food, because we're dealing with those additional stressors, it's going to affect us more. And I believe that's why we see these health statistics as they are, because we're not doing something so different in terms of how we're eating than the rest of society. It's just that we've got more stressors. And when you combine the constant stressors with a poor diet, you're going to get more poor health outcomes. So that's why we have to be more vigilant. And we know that one of the positive outcomes of statistics for Black women is that we're the most educated. So we're the most receptive because we have the brain power. We know how to run homes. We know how to run the businesses. Now we have to prioritize our health and start deconstructing all the garbage that they've been feeding us. And I think that's where our power is to support one another as we deconstruct patriarchy, as we deconstruct racism, and learn how we're going to shine in this. And we've been shining despite all that. But when we take our health to the next level, there's like no stopping it.
Yeah, yes, we will be invincible when we collectively take our health to the next level. I love it. And it's such an empowering message. And I think you're right. In that how stressed we are as a people, right? Specifically women of color. The country was built on our back and we've been carrying it ever since. So when you find
Absolutely.
that unique stress with our diet and our lifestyle, we experience a different level of health issues when you think about it.
Absolutely, because we nourish the world, and
Yes.
then it's like, we are the blueprint, and we're always giving and giving and giving, and we're not getting back, and so we have to prioritize ourselves. Put the mask on yourself first,
Yes.
and learn how to get help, because I've seen, my mother and other people's parents do everything. They ran the entire house without the help of the husband, and they
Yeah.
thought that's what they were supposed to do,
Yeah.
and then they worked the full-time job on top of it. She's sewing our clothes, making lunches, and working. I'm like, that's a lot to do.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
to say, no more. No, we need help. I know we look like superwoman and we've done amazing things, but no, we're not carrying this weight of everybody on the show. We are not the workhorse of America anymore. We got to stop that and get help and put ourselves first.
Yeah. Change that narrative.
Yeah,
Change
absolutely.
that narrative and those traditions. I think a lot of times we feel like we have to continue that because it's what we saw culturally and traditionally.
Hmm.
And I'm so happy that I feel like we're in a place where, as women of color, we're waking up to change that narrative and change those traditions and to speak out. Like, I can't handle everything, I can't carry everything. So I feel like that's changing. That's starting to shift. We're starting to wake up.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well,
sure.
thank you so much. Could you please share any upcoming events or where we can find you specifically for Ruby Red's Vegan?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, the best place to go is to my website, which is rubylathon.com. So you see my name on the screen there. So there, and usually I list all my upcoming events, and then social media is great. I'm on all of the platforms. Just look up my name, Ruby Lathon, and I'm always posting there and in my stories and all that, the latest stuff. And just daily tips and encouragement and things like that. And so, if you're looking for that deeper dive and wanting support, I do coaching, individual coaching, and then I have cancer survivors course, and I have how to get out of the life you created. So, which is an excellent course that's helped people like really make those big shifts from, the life they don't want to the life they really want, and do it intentionally. And that's what that one is about, kind of my path from engineer to holistic nutrition. And then if you're in the DC area, Maryland, Virginia, you can always order a healthy food. We deliver every week, organic, plant based meals. So that's rubyredsvegan.com, but you'll also find it on my main website.
And the pictures look so delicious on Facebook. I'm always drooling over the pictures when
Yeah.
you post them.
Yeah, and they're good. Our food looks just like that, and it's delicious. And we have a lot of repeat. Most of our clients are repeat subscription clients because the food is delicious, which is my thing. I'm like, that's why I started it, because I'm like, I like, my pet peeve is bad vegan food, tasteless vegan food. So that's why I started teaching my cooking classes, and then people started requesting, "Can you make the food?" And I'm like, maybe I can, but not me. Let me use
Right.
my recipes to get help and make it, into a business. So it's food that I want to eat, and I have a quite
Mhm.
good palate. I grew up in Alabama on southern food,
Yeah.
so we just transferred all that goodness to healthy food and flavors. And so that's why, I've done Ruby Red's Vegan, and I'm really excited about it.
Yes, I like to say that you can still eat food that's good for you and good to you. Like you don't have to sacrifice.
Exactly. It's supposed
Other.
to taste good. It's supposed to taste good. If
Yes,
it's not, you're doing it wrong. So
yes.
watch my YouTube videos. I have cooking instructions all on there, how to get the flavor into the food. Yeah.
It's possible. And I think it's easier. I found that over time it's more flavorful. Like the organic, whole foods, plant-based food is more flavorful than the processed foods. And it takes
Yeah.
time to change your palate and you realize like, wow, this is what raspberry really tastes like versus a raspberry
Yeah.
flavor. You know
I
what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
I didn't used to even like red apples because I just thought I didn't like them until I had started eating organic apples. I was like, I
mm.
like apples. It was just this crap they were, whatever they were doing to the regular apples is not
Yeah,
good.
to the
So
cardboard, traditional,
yeah,
conventional grown
yeah.
apple.
So yeah, eating clean definitely changes your palate, and the flavor is better. Obviously, if it's coming straight from the ground without
Yeah.
being interfered with.
Yeah, yeah. It's so powerful. Well, I can talk about vegetables and health all day, but I won't keep you.
Okay,
Thank you so much for joining me,
you're
Dr. Lathon.
welcome.
Really, really appreciate it. And thank you guys so much for joining, watching, and listening today. If you need more support, please visit Dr. Lathon's website. She has a ton of different avenues to support you guys, from cooking it for you to teaching you how to do it yourself. And I also invite you to join me at my upcoming wellness seminar, Wellness and Wine, September 4th here in Dallas, Texas, for really good girl chat, wellness resources, and support beginning your wellness journey. As always, my loves, I hope you have a great day, health, and happiness.